Good morning. Good morning. It is for us right now on this live recording. It is a Tuesday morning. Welcome to the Sick of This Show. I'm Nick Paro with my good friend Walter Rhein, joined today by Rachel, or This Woman Votes. And we're doing Notes of the Week. It is before Thanksgiving for us. So we're just going to have a fun day today. We're going to talk politics, talk shop, talk progressive, talk without blinders. And it's really good to see you, Walter. And Rachel, it's really good to meet you and have you on today. Do you mind introducing yourself real quick to everyone in the audience before we
Sure.
get into anything today?
Sure. My name is Rachel. I write This Woman Votes. I am an unabashed progressive and feminist, and not really focused on being palatable, just progressive.
I like that. I'd rather be progressive than palatable. I do
Right.
really like how you just said that. Because everybody else we were saying this before the show, people on the regressive right get to say unpalatable shit all the time. And just unabashedly say unpalatable shit all the time. So why can't we say palatable shit all the time and loudly and proudly and happily? So thanks for that's I like it.
Yeah.
Walter, good morning. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm worn out. I don't know if it's just the holidays, the kids are at home. I'll probably tap out after this. I've been kind of thinking too, because everybody's been stressing out this week. You've seen them already on Substack. They're just like, naturally your views are down this week, everybody. Just relax. Everybody's on vacation. I'm gonna do like a half worked week just because I go nuts otherwise. But other than that, play with the kids, have fun, get some rest, take some naps, and we'll all be ready to go. We'll come back next Monday after the break. So, but it's wonderful to talk to you guys. I'm so glad Rachel's on. Everything you post is so analytical, and it's like it comes at the way I look at things, but from the other side, and it's just like so useful to me to read it. So thanks so much for the work you're doing.
Arguably, my need for analysis is also pathological, so it is what it is.
I think we need analysis now. You are what we need right now. A person like you is exactly what we need.
I mean, it has been 3 hours analysis. Our last event, so.
I was surprised how well I did. I was worried about that. I was like, oh shoot, I gotta be more careful. Just don't hold me in any numbers and I'll be fine.
No.
I think you're right, though. As I accidentally spoke over you, is I think we need pathological, like you said, it's pathological truth right now. Like we on Tyranny says it. Timothy Snyder said it really well, is stand for the truth and unabashedly stand for it and do not obey. And our disobedience is speaking the truth and speaking progressive politics without caring what right wingers have to say about it. Because we're the blocker folks who just say, get the fuck out of my comments. We don't care what you have to say if it's unimportant and stupid. If it's not going to ever add to the conversation, we don't want to hear it. Like, if you're just trying to rage bait us, centrists, moderates, you are included there too. Assholes who want to tell us don't ask for progressive politics or for nice things or for simple nice things like, I don't know, healthcare and basic needs.
I think what they miss a lot of it is the idea of negotiation, right? Like, you have to put everything on the table and then be prepared to build from there. If you don't put shit on the table and start asking for and demanding things like UBI and healthcare and union labor controls and Jesus, for the love of puppies, please, someone start talking about the need to regulate algorithmic information.
We do all the time.
Like,
do you talk that for a business stand from like a business side? Do you talk? Okay, I would love to have you on. Shane Urick and I on Mondays do a show called Palin Talk on Banner and Backbone, my other network. where we talk a lot about the intersection of tech and fascism and the broligarchy and what they're doing. And I think we would have an amazing discussion over there about that intersection and regulate and the regulatory needs around AI and what we think could be done.
I do AI for a living, so always happy to participate.
Awesome. I love that. Sweet. You'll have a DM from me later after the show then to try and get you set up for a Pal and Talk.
Sounds great.
Awesome. This is so cool. This is my favorite part about all this is we get to cross-pollinate, we get to collaborate with each other, we get to re-platform each other. I think that's why I like Substack. And I know we're on Twitch and YouTube right now for this show as well. So hi, anybody who's in the audience on Twitch and YouTube. Welcome. Thanks y'all for following us there and subscribing and being part of the Sick of This Shit publications community. We appreciate it. Like that's getting the word out and collaborating is the whole thing. Like I love that we get to do this. Thank you again, Walter, for introducing me to another amazing person.
Yes. Oh, I was just thinking too, how 10 years from now, I think we will look back at this time and it'll be like we're campaigners. We'll reflect on these 10 months. There's a lot of people I know who need a big hug. I feel like I owe Nick a big hug and Rachel too. And just like all the work you're doing and just how hard these months have been. And yeah, as Nick said, the one saving grace has been this opportunity to interact and build up our message and, unapologetically demand decency, a nation of integrity, and it's like, that's just, and as Rachel was just saying, that's not on the table right now. We didn't need to put it on the table. We need to do well for our kids. It's not just
like the floor, it's the basement.
Yeah. Right? And they make us think we're not reasonable for asking for those things. And that's what we have to change. Right. Like even the people that are allies, we're like, no, you can ask for more. And this goes back to the work environment. I always tell people, you should get a raise of about, probably to be fair, it should be like a 300% raise, but go in and ask for 75% to start. It's like we need to have those conversations because we're the ones who make everything. It's us, so.
And to answer, and like, this wraps into a question into the chat was going back just a second ago to like we were talking about I block people for non-contributory things. Somebody asked in the chat in a real question, thank you for following up too with that you want an answer on this, and we're asking in earnesty is, so people who disagree with you aren't invited to have a conversation with you? No. People who disagree with me I talk to people who disagree with me all the time. I had a conversation with Joe Walsh and he and I disagree on plenty of things. People who disagree with me that people are people, I like, and that's like a fundamental thing that they refuse to see. There's not really much to talk about after that. Like to the people who think that I and my people, historically the Jewish people, I have a Star of David on my forearm tattooed there so nothing else can get tattooed where that spot is, because that's where they put the number for the Holocaust on Jewish people's forearm. If people think that the Holocaust doesn't exist, sorry, my dog bells are going off right now. If people who think that the Holocaust doesn't exist or are deniers of main events like that, like there's not much to talk about. I don't do straw man arguments. I don't listen to people who purposely put in fallacies, who purposely rage bait us to try and have bad answers and like try and evoke just an emotional response.
You can courteously disagree about.
Like if you want to have a real conversation, please, like that's what we want. But if someone's here to rage bait, and I'm not saying you, the person who asked this, thank you for asking the question. For people who are only here to rage bait, that's who I don't care about. Like I'm not into rage bait. I'm not into being told we can't do it either. Like I'll have conversations with people who agree with me on on fundamental issues, but we'll say we can't do that because we don't need to have that stuff. Like healthcare, you can wait on that, or universal basic income, you don't need to propose that. Nobody's ever going to accept it. Or we can't have a woman president because the US isn't ready for it. Well, fuck that. let's make the US ready for a woman president. We are ready for a woman president. We have been ready for a woman president. I can have arguments with people like that.
Yep.
But I can't have arguments if you don't believe that people deserve to be people, or that concentration camps are bad, and that the apartheid system that they're trying to bring is a shitty fucking thing. If that's what you really, really want and are for the pro rapist, child molesting pedophiles who are in power right now, I don't know if we really should or need to have a conversation.
I won't argue moral failings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if we're sacrificing a population of humanity, no matter how small that population is, and trans folks are the ones that, like, this is such a small population of people, and yet they're the first ones that get sacrificed. Like, I'm not willing to sacrifice a single human life for any purpose. And if that's what we're really talking about, if trans people have to be taken off the table, it's a non-negotiable for me.
Yep.
And if we're if I could just take one moment, when you start legislating something like trans people, right? What people don't seem to understand is that the consequences of that, like the inability to think forward to 2 steps, 3 steps forward, right? So, okay, fine. Girls have to use the girls' room and boys have to use the boys' room. But who decides who's a goddamn girl is a really important point, because I have a very good friend. She's kind of a boyish looking lesbian, right? She wears a t-shirt that says female when she's traveling because people have accosted her going into a women's room. She is a woman. She has always been a woman. She has always identified as female. And yet the splashover of the anti-trans existence is that she gets punished for it. I never perform femininity. I am a female. I have always been a female. I am regrettably heterosexual. But I don't perform femininity in a way that is, I ride motorcycles. I use the F word like a comma. I don't make myself palatable for anybody but me. But the reality is I could be just as challenged as the next person of going into a women's room. And I'm prone to I'm prone to walking into a men's room if there's a goddamn line in the women's room.
Don't do it in Arkansas.
I'm not going to pee.
Don't do it in Arkansas, because there's actually a law that expressly prohibits it, which is so stupid. So stupid. Because they did it, and the consequence that these dumbasses, because actions have consequences, and these people don't, a lot of them
they don't understand that.
Past step 1. Step 2 was you make it so that bathrooms are only gendered. Okay.
Right.
Well, what happens to a mother with a 2 or 3 year old boy who has no father with her at the moment, because say she's either a single mom or he's just not there because he's at work, he has doing something else, maybe he's with the other kid, maybe he's just shopping somewhere else and she's trying to bring him to the bathroom.
Yep.
She can't bring him into the same bathroom as her because the law doesn't make a differentiation between age or care or maternity status or anything. It's just boy, girl, black, white, none, good, bad, evil, right, wrong. Like that's all it is. And so I feel like that first question that was asked was in the chat seemed to be a little misleading from this individual, because now there's some comments going on. I'm having a hard time understanding why a woman couldn't be president.
Well, let's just unapologetically state, that women are what we need as president. And I love what you were saying before. It's been something I've been saying. I don't think we should waste any oxygen on this discussion about whether the country's ready for it. If you want to say something, say we have to make the country ready for it because that's best for all of humanity. And I hate these institutions that prohibit women from being. I think they should be opposed. I mean, I have 2 wonderful daughters and a wonderful wife. They handle everything. women are much. I trust them to lead more than I trust myself.
What am I supposed to tell my daughter too? Like, oh, you can't do what I do, or you can't
Right.
run that
Not
position. Like, you're just not good enough. That's what I'm supposed to tell my kid, is you're just not good enough to handle that responsibility. You're never going to be mature enough. You're never going to be smart enough. You're never going to be good enough for it. That's what you're going to tell your kids or yourself. That's what you're saying, is you're not good enough to do it. And I'm not going to tell my children they're not good enough to do something. And I think it's really shitty that other people tell their kids they're not good enough to do stuff, or tell themselves they're not good enough to even try. It's why we don't have nice things in the US, because people are like, it's hard, so we're just not going to try. Well, fuck that. We've done so many hard things in the US, and we've done so many hard things as a species. Like, it's not that hard to try just a little bit to be a good, empathetic person and to treat people fairly.
And
Rachel,
I would also throw out that there are other places that are doing this particularly well. And the best possible example is Rwanda. Rwanda went through a genocide, significant genocide. Literally, at the end of the genocide, 70% of the population was female, right? And so what happened is their legislation became skewed female. So right now they're sitting at about 63% of their cabinet members are female. They're they still have their strongman leader, right? But most of the cabinet is female. Most of the legislature is female, pushing all of these. They've seen significant reductions in poverty. They've seen significant improvements in education. Like, as a case study of what female leadership can be, I think Rwanda is a great one, because they're still existing under this strongman leader. And yet they are accomplishing so much from a GDP growth, economic growth, educational growth. Everything is growing, and it's growing because it's not just happening at the executive level. It's not just happening at the governance layer. It's happening at the community layer as well. And the idea that a woman can't lead this country is unhinged, first of all. But also, we've talked a little bit about sort of palatability and likability, right? I am a genuinely unlikable woman most of the time. I don't have any qualms about throwing that out.
I wouldn't say that so far.
I am a fucking pill. Okay. There's no question that but that's because
that's what I like about you, though. I guess that's a matter of opinion, because that's what I like. That's like instantly I see, I'm like, this is somebody I can be friends with.
Yeah, I like people who speak their mind.
I don't perform femininity. And in an American environment with Christian nationalism and sort of the idea of performance of femininity is important to that base. That base of Christian nationalism. I don't know if you're familiar with sort of the idea of feminine dialect as sort of a sociolinguistic concept, but like, think about Katie Britt last in 2024, right? When she did that really weird off-putting,
the cult speak.
Yeah,
she was in like a kitchen from like 1950,
right?
She was just like, I'm here making some cookies as I talk about this.
Essentially, the expectation of women. Women are expected to perform in a way that is likable, that's quiet, that's calm. I am not calm fucking ever. Yeah. Like, it is what it is, but also I have a level of moral certainty that I understand that we should be caring for humanity. We should be putting forth the best of what we can do. How do we have the nerve to call America the greatest country on earth when there was a single veteran sleeping on the streets of Portland, Oregon?
Yeah.
Like, kiss my ass. If a single kid is going to school hungry and we don't want to feed that kid, like, how do you have the nerve?
That we're great.
And from a female perspective, as a woman who has also done my part for the population and raised 7 goddamn children and 6 boys at that, my perspective tends to skew male. I was raised around boys. I was the oldest in a generation of 13 boys. Like I started riding motorcycles when I was 8. Like I'm just because I bake cookies doesn't mean that I'm not also an absolute ball breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
You can be both.
You can be both.
You should be both.
We want to shove men into these same narrow channels of he's an alpha male, or you know, she's a fundy, woman, or trad wife. And someone called me an anarcho-feminist the other day, and I thought they were flirting with me. Like,
well, these are the control mechanisms we always are talking about.
These are the control mechanisms.
Yeah,
right?
And it's like making women be a certain way because, boy, it's pretty clear getting back that women are perceived as the biggest threat to all the injustice that's going on today, which is why a lot of these narratives are going on where they want them, controlled. But then there's that model of authority where the second you say, everything is great, you should be thankful. You shouldn't be trying to change anything.
You should be performing.
Yes.
You should be performing your appreciation. Everything is performative in this current regime.
And those kind of bot comments are an example of that, where they they get you with those little dishonest questions. Well, are you saying this? Are you saying that? To just divert away from a real productive conversation. But these things are stacked, and that's again why. Because Rachel, you'll bring in like the names for these things. You name something and you define it. I'm like, oh, I see how that fits in, not having defined it before, and it's just really useful to me.
I mean, part of that is just how I process information. It's pathological, like I said. It's the autism.
It's just a more analytical approach, and I always gone at things from just this more of a narrative, like I'm trying to write a story type thing, and that's how I'm seeing things. And I'm just like, oh, and it's like in the same way I don't define like a gerund or like this is the present perfect tense. I don't do that. But you're kind of coming at it from that way where you're like, this is the definition, and then it becomes more useful because it adds. From that, I'm able to build and see even more things. So that's really neat to me. These extra perspectives are so helpful.
Thinking about like performative politics, especially around women. Let's bring in some of our notes from this week. We'll start with a new and old one from me, and then we'll get into we'll see how we can transition into each one. Like, see if we can do it like last week, where I was able to slide into each one so nicely. Since we're doing performative politics. Now I'm wondering what's the over-under on a pregnancy announcement too, especially after Erica's weird response about not being pregnant before Charlie died. That's in response to my own note from earlier this month was, what's the over-under on JD leaving Usha and marrying Erica Kirk by Christmas? Because we're talking about performative politics. We're talking about women being put into their place in politics specifically, and on the right side, it's all about putting specific women into specific places to make an appearance. It's all about appearance.
I will tell you this: there is no way in hell they let another brown girl in the Oval into the White House, and there's no way in hell. Like, I have a theory. My expectation is that Trump won't make the midterms. He's not particularly healthy. He's inconvenient to Peter Thiel. There's a lot of reasons, without throwing up like something that sounds really wing nutty about the planned obsolescence of this man. But I don't believe he will make the midterms. So I do believe that JD will be in the Oval Office by midterm. All that to say, there's no way he takes another brown girl into the White House. Michelle Obama set people off, and the level of sort of backlash is kind of why we are where we are today. And so that is my opinion. I stand by it. Mark your calendars, people. We'll start a pool at some point.
Walter, your thoughts?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, what would be really frustrating is if he is, it's no cause to celebrate if he's taken out of office for the wrong reasons, right? I mean, we need to keep pushing. And I think what I'm really worried about right now is this temptation to say, okay, we've had some victories, and then we resign ourselves to returning to like a Biden era, rather than taking the momentum that we're building now and pushing to some really important transitions. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be frustrating because at any moment, the media could just decide to turn and be like, okay, we're going to sink this guy. I mean, they could do it in like 2 or 3 weeks, probably, maybe even less than that if they really wanted to sink him. There's some thoughts about whether they'd want to keep the current guy in office because if you've only served less than 2 years, you can still run for 2 new terms, I think is the rule.
Yeah.
So that would be one kind of factor that would be kind of in there. But yeah, him being out before the midterms with all the defections that we're seeing, there's been some talks about a lot of the Republicans are thinking of retiring from Congress now following Marjorie Taylor Greene. I like this thought that they are going to lose the majority in the House prior to the midterms. I think that's a real possibility with the people that are frustrated. But yeah, I mean, it's like we can't celebrate. We can't sit there and laugh and clap our hands if they're removing him just to give us something worse. We have to be mindful that that's a possibility too.
Well, I think the real risk in the removal of Trump, regardless of how he gets removed, is that the rest of the GOP that has started to balk against Trump is going to be, oh, okay, we can all get behind JD and still sort of run things. I also think that once Trump doesn't exist, JD settles a little bit, but the fascism gets darker. It gets more dangerous because where like JD has a real vision for where we could go from an authoritarian.
Peter Thiel's vision.
Yeah. He has Peter Thiel's vision and he is Peter Thiel's handmaiden. So there's no question there.
Yeah, this is something I've spoken about with a couple people behind the scenes too, in terms of like, what is the next step? How do we ensure that the entire administration goes down? Because it's not Trump. It's not just him. There's an entire Project 2025 and Heritage Foundation and others, like massive group of other individuals that are perpetrating all of this and are propping up folks like JD Vance, who have bought and paid for JD Vance. Peter Thiel owns JD Vance. Peter Thiel also owns the largest surveillance and profiling system in the world. He's the most powerful human being.
Right? He is a post-state sovereign.
Yeah. Peter, and they're anti-constitutionalists. And there's a lot that can be very clearly hung around these people's heads in terms of crimes that they have committed against the Constitution. And we cannot settle for just Trump. Walter, you like, I'm going to switch to your note because then the next one after that I think we can feed right into Stephanie, or is it Stephanie, right?
Rachel. You're thinking
Rachel. Jesus, so sorry, Rachel.
No, that's okay.
I have so many names.
It's a compliment. Stephanie Stephanie's brilliant too, so that's why.
Oh my God, yeah, Stephanie Wilson is brilliant. If you don't follow her yet, you should.
I don't. I will have to track her down.
Oh yeah, we'll have to bring you.
She does Freedom Over Fascism, which is her show,
Okay.
and she does some really good, really, really strong interviews. You'd really enjoy her. I don't know if she's in the chat this morning, but she's on my Monday shows all the time too. She's one of my co-hosts for Chronic Illness Discussions. But leading into this conversation is our next one is don't play it safe. Walter's note here.
I'll read it. Go ahead,
Walter.
You read it. I want to hear you.
No. I want you. I want your voice in this because we've talked about possibly doing some voiceovers together, or I put out that idea of some stuff that Ellie's working on for the Bannon Epstein emails, and we're gonna sort of live act as gross as it's gonna be, but I think it's important. I'm gonna convince some people to live act that with me so that we can get
my whole body is cringing over the idea of live acting the Epstein emails.
That's
just the Bannon emails.
It's such a repellent thought.
Just the Bannon Epstein emails, though.
No, I know it needs to be done. It just is so cringy.
Yeah. All right, let me read this. So it goes, don't play it safe. Don't make a deal with the devil. Risk everything. Be bold. Be true to your sense of integrity. Playing it safe only guarantees a loss. Don't concede in advance. Give yourself a chance to win. And I think what I wanted to talk about here and convey to people is, I mean, there's evil, and then that's not even the worst thing. That's what Martin Luther King was talking about in the letter from Birmingham jail. It's like, that's obvious. That's a problem. The real bigger problem is that where you're convinced to make a concession for the sake of a greater good and to go against your integrity, to choose the lesser of two evils in that moment. That's the problem, because you sacrifice yourself. I mean, that's the road to the dark side right there. You start making these concessions because you think, this is the scene in The Lord of the Rings. Don't tempt me, Frodo. I tried to use the ring for good. And that's exactly what happens. You try to take evil and use it for good. And this is the whole motto of the current Democratic Party. I keep saying, because they're always like, well, we can't go too far left. And I say, you know what? Why don't you guys stop saying it like that? Why don't say, when they go low, we can't go too high? And it's like, because if you say it that way, it sounds fucking stupid, because it is fucking stupid. We should never say, let's not aspire to great things and let's not aspire to good. And that's been the motto of the DNC. And then they always lose. And then they always blame the progressives. So it's just good to remind ourselves. It's like, you have to, there's always fear. Fear is inevitable. We can't do the safe thing, the quote unquote safe thing, because we're so afraid to lose. We have to be bold and try to win. And that's really the perspective shift we need to have. Because if you are safe, you guarantee you're going to lose.
I think that part of the sort of the push towards safety, the push towards centrism, the push toward palatability, that's the root of all of this, right? Is that we need to be quieter. We need to not match energy. But then you look at Newsom, who, look, I'm not a fan of. I think Newsom is just Reagan with better hair. But at the end of the day, if that's who the Dems run, he's doing a better job than pretty much anybody else. Maybe Pritzker, a couple of, there's a couple
but
of
Pritzker's a billionaire.
Pritzker's a billionaire, right? Like, there's a couple of people that are legitimately pushing back and legitimately fighting in a way that you have to match energy with people. You can't just sit back and be the nice, palatable, quiet. Like, that is Christian nationalism messaging in a way that is not useful in a real epistemic war, which is where we are at. And God knows, Walter, you've heard probably too many rants on my position on epistemic war, but we are in this is 5th gen warfare. This isn't tanks in the street. This is algorithmic dominance. And people, especially on the left, have no concept of the fact that this is the fight we are fighting. First, acknowledge that it's a war, and then figure out how the fuck to fight it.
I think the media has failed us again, though, because from the beginning, AOC has been out. And they never mentioned her. She was the first to fight back. Her and Bernie, they were going to red districts. They were holding rallies. They were pushing when the whole Democrats. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, thank goodness Newsom is finally fighting. It's like, motherfuckers, she's been out there. AOC's been doing it. And they just refuse to give her any press. So, and then they want to, but then the Democrats, they always want to hand the nomination to somebody. It's like, we get to vote. We get to have primaries. And I had an interview the other day where I just mentioned this. I'm just like, the Democrats have to start respecting their primaries. I think they're not going to air the interview just because I said that. And I think they didn't want me to push back against the Democrats. But I'm just like, you guys, Mamdani won. Everybody has to get behind him.
We should be primarying everyone.
Yes, I believe
every fucking one of them should be primaried.
Yes. Because they don't want us to do primaries at all because that's a threat to their power.
Right. Yeah. That's
and like even people like Bernie, even folks like Bernie and like AOC should be primaried, not because I think AOC should go away, but because it makes her a better candidate and it reminds her who she's working for. Because then you actually have to go back to your district and fucking do primaries.
And you're talking to people, and you're doing ads, and you're raising money, and you're getting people involved. Primaries are healthy, and the DNC just doesn't want them. They want to.
And like AOC would blow it out of the water because she campaigns 24/7 because that's what you're supposed to do as a politician, is to remind us that you're still there and you're doing the job that you're doing, and that you're actually fulfilling the duty that you were sent there to do.
Right. So I have a series that's called Profiles in Progress, where I take a look at all of the progressives that are running in the next election cycle. And Kate Compton Barr is running. She was originally running in like 2022 as a Democrat against a Republican. in a wildly gerrymandered district. And she was running under basically the messaging, Kate can't win. I think her actual website was katecan'twin.com, right? Now what she's doing is she's running as a Republican in the primary.
Nice.
Because she can get better and she's absolutely democratic messaging. Everything is democratic, but she's registered as a Republican, so she can run in the Republican primary against someone who has held the seat forever and is in essentially a safe, untouchable seat. And what she's trying to do is highlight the gerrymandering that's gone on in North Carolina and that sort of thing. And that's the level of attack we need to hit. Yeah. We need to hit Republicans where Republicans live in safe seats.
Yeah.
Yes. And we need to do it under the guise of Republicanism. Like, take over. I keep trying, I'm putting this out there, and I'm glad we're talking because maybe you can talk about this too in the future. Use this however you want. Yep. Is we need a movement of pro-democracy folks like, say, Adam Kinzinger, who is putting a ton of money to rehab the run Republican candidates against other Republicans. We need to encourage them to take over a national third party that's already recognized. Pro-democracy needs to take over the libertarian wing of the party, because that's a literal national third party that can run across the country in every state and on the presidential level, and is able to be easily seen and put onto all of the debate stages. They can easily push for all of the things because they are a nationally recognized party that caucuses with the Republicans. Mm-hmm. Joe Walsh, Adam Kinzinger, they're very conservative. However, they have shifted a lot. Some of them have shifted a lot of their fundamental basis to I know that Joe has changed a lot of his views in a lot of really good ways. And I appreciate the work that Joe Walsh is doing. I've talked to him and pushed back. We don't agree on some things still, especially around Israel and what's going on there. But if they take over the libertarian wing of the party, the Republican Party, run nationally, run under the Republican ticket if they have to, and then caucus with the Democrats when they get in because they're a national party, or just break away, because having a third party, if nobody reaches the majority, let's say nobody gets over 50%, then you have to caucus with people. Yes. You have to have a democracy that actually negotiates things, because you get the democracy you negotiate for.
Yes.
And the voting is negotiating. And so we should negotiate as hard as fucking possible by doing things like that. I've talked about that for a while. It was I thought about it. I was like, the best way to run is to run as a Republican and switch parties.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? They're going to put you in their primary. If in their primaries, they're going to put ads out there. Republicans throw fucking money at Republicans. Yeah. Why don't the Democrats do it?
You're right. Who did we talk about that with the other day? How Republicans have that set aside where they actually promote platforms like ours. Like Republicans would actually support podcasters who are promoting their message, where the Democrats are nowhere to be found. They don't even hardly come on to talk to us. But when this idea of challenging Republicans, there's so much you could do to challenge them. They just passed that resolution against socialism. It's why isn't anybody condemning these cities that spend hundreds of millions of dollars on NFL stadiums, for billionaires? It's that's socialism. And it's I've tried to promote that argument. And that's another thing, getting back to what we're going to get to with Rachel in a second here, is how social media is so controlled. Because I remember even in that era where they were all mad at the NFL, the NFL's not standing for the anthem and they're burning, NFL material. I started to say, and also it's socialism that all these taxpayers have to pay for their stadiums. No traction on those kind of comments. It was only, they totally control the narrative on so many things. But getting up on a debate stage and being able to give a little bit more oxygen and things like that, the PPP loans, the bailouts. Go ahead, Rachel.
We socialize failure and privatize success. That's just how it works in this country with capitalism in its current state.
Yeah. And to answer the question That was in the chat from someone, but many of us Dems would never vote to trust a Republican that they'd switch parties. You're right. Most Dems wouldn't. But a lot of Republicans will if you give them the same argument under the Republican name. And I'm not talking to the Dems right now. Like, the Dems need to figure their own shit out. This plan is about the Republicans because the Republican Party is dead. It's a fucking fascist movement who are enabled by social media bots around the world. And I'll shrink this one in because it's not quite as readable as I was hoping.
It's
that
quite
zoomed out.
And it's an essay into itself.
But so, that's they get money thrown at them. All sorts of, and the thing is, yes, people would not trust that somebody running under the Republican name would ever switch to the Democratic side.
Yeah.
That's okay. If the Libertarian side just doesn't caucus with the Republicans, that's a big ass win. I'm talking about the Republicans here, those who are going to vote on the Republican side, not so much on the Democratic side. I want to keep pushing the Democrats progressively.
And if it's just
getting rid of Schumers and Jeffries and folks like that and the old guard. I need the Republicans who are conservative Democrats right now to go back to go and be something that can win their party and break it, because that's just as important.
And if it comes down to just one vote, if you've only got one Libertarian seat, but it takes one vote to get something passed, all of a sudden that's a huge amount of power, and you can make some negotiations, you can change things. So it's like this we keep thinking we have to completely reform everything when the number is like 2 or 3%, and we'll see massive change, So that's we got to keep focused on that. Victor's a lot closer than we think.
And so, Rachel, you put up this great note about disinformation and how it's impacting things and kind of self-owning themselves in the process.
Yeah. So the X location release was really interesting for a couple of reasons, right? Sure, they've exposed that a very, very large number of very large MAGA-oriented channels on X are actually Russian, Estonian, there's all over African. I think there's a few that are Nigerian. The reality is the influence channel that exists to support identity fusion, right? And part of the reason for this is because you don't act against the out group, right? It's all about focusing people on the in group when you have a fused identity. And within the GOP, the level of identity fusion that's happening is really incredible. I mean, they've taken Zionists and white supremacists and Nazis and forged them into the same group, which is just wild. These should be enemies, but we've reached a point, going back all the way to Sun Tzu, where the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and they have managed to reach this level of identity fusion that supersedes everything, including hate that they have for other organizations. And so this piece kind of hits a lot of the buttons for a lot of different reasons, identity fusion being one of them. But also, I really see this as sort of not so much a glitch, but a demonstration of Trump's post-state sovereignty. He showed sort of the world that he can expose activists, journalists, dissidents anywhere, but not because he's smart, but because we allowed a bored billionaire to own a global censor network, which is what this is, right? So then you start getting into sort of the idea of epistemic war, right? You've got saturation, you've got enclosure, capture, selective violence. Those are the sort of the 4 features of epistemic war. And that's where we're at. It fits perfectly with everything that I've been talking about for months, that now he has demonstrated and some of it I think is a little bit of a, the Doge, sort of the unceremonious ending of Doge.
Yeah.
I mean, Doge's existence was just a giant data capture. It wasn't really expected internally to end anything. But I do think that the primary thing that they wanted from Doge was data capture. It was to ensure that they had the appropriate level of backdoor entrances into all of the data systems of the government. And these are data systems that Palantir wasn't already completely plugged into, right?
Yes.
And so Doge was unceremoniously ended. Musk had a little bit of a temper tantrum and exposed MAGA for all of its grift, and sort of on his own platform, which is just wild. But I don't know that it'll have a big effect. It isn't going to be the epistemic shock for MAGA that it should be, because most of them won't recognize it for what it is. They don't interrogate their thinking. So there isn't any sort of self-reflection. We're not going to get a win from on MAGA again with this, but I do think that the people who have been riding the fence a little bit are going to shift.
So I agree. I don't think we're going to have a win. And I think it's actually what this really entails as part of the internal war that's going on the MAGA and America First and America Party, because Elon Musk has enough money to make his own political party and nobody's going to stop him. Who's going to fucking stop him right now? Especially if Trump dies.
Yeah, he is a post-state sovereign. Peter Thiel, Larry Page, Ellison, Zuckerberg. These are all post-state sovereigns. And so a post-state sovereign is someone who owns infrastructure. Thiel owns Palantir, the world's largest surveillance network. Musk owns both Twitter as a global censor, but also he owns Starlink, and he owns rocket ships. Ellison has the largest communication channel on the planet. Zuckerberg has over 3 billion. He runs a community of 3 billion people. These are all sovereign men, and they are all men, that are in a position where they're literally untouchable.
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to. Thiel could walk into the Oval Office tomorrow and commit a murder and not be held accountable for it.
No, absolutely. And that's that part of that too is they are anti-constitutional. None of this is about the Constitution. They don't care about the Constitution.
And they're anti-humanist.
Yeah,
they are
anti-humanist.
Right?
Yeah, I'm assuming, have you ever heard of the philosophy TESCREAL? TESCREAL. It's a acronym. I'll find the link for it and send it to you. It's a transhumanism acronym thing where it's the post-humanism stuff. They want to get to the AI post-humanism where they can upload themselves into cybernetic beings and live forever. Yeah. It's their immortality goal. It's their race to the
which in and of itself
singularity.
I just find such an enormous ick. The idea of immortality. If you've ever read any Neil Stephenson, Dodge Out of Hell, is my horror story. Immortality, in my opinion, is one of the worst horror stories on the planet.
Yeah. And it's the big thing in all of that is they are anti-constitutional. They don't care about borders. They want regions of the world. This isn't about countries. This is about regions. They want entire regions.
Borders are only capital constraints, right? Borders are built to constrain capital and certain human constraints as well. But I completely agree. They are, and I know this takes us down into a 1987 sort of New World Order conspiracy thinking, but that's kind of what they want.
That's what they want.
This is probably a large reason why everybody in Congress is 80 years old, because we don't have a government right now that can understand this level of technology. I don't understand it.
Grassley has been in office since Fucking Eisenhower.
Yeah. Wow.
Like,
like
what?
We're at a technological revolution when we need the smartest, most innovative people possible, and we have the laziest, least innovative people possible sitting in offices.
Yeah.
And this shows that we weren't prepared for any of this.
Oh, yeah. And
especially around the information war.
Yeah, and misinformation has dominated the last at least 4 or 5 elections. Even Obama got in because he knew how to handle Twitter at first. And it's just sort of like they've just done nothing. This has been decades now that this has been going on. And we still have people that just like stick their head in the sand and pretend none of this. I mean, our world has fundamentally changed. And just like everybody talks about, oh, the suicide rate among young kids is through the roof because of social media and all these other problems. We just do nothing about them. We let them lose election, steal election after election. Nothing is done. And this is pretty insightful what you're saying, that it's part of this larger, let's just pretend countries don't exist at all and work toward digital immortality, which is bizarre, but it's just sort of like, so is Scientology.
Yep.
Yeah. Man. And this thing is the what I like this note too, and what happened with this, I think, is something that we should be talking about and putting into the MAGA zeitgeist, is because once it does get through, and as we keep breaking them apart and making them fight each other, it's easier then for pro-democracy people, as long as we continue to build our efforts in unison and work with each other and actually support each other and support the growth of each other and support message sharing, is we can have an option for the other side. There's no real option right now that isn't whatever the fuck they want, which is fiefdoms under the control of these tech bros who can buy internet or buy the mercenaries that they need, control information warfare, and put us into slavery and servitude and take away all our wages. If we can get small things like, hey, you know that big profile you have been bought and sold for them, you know, that's not an American, that's not a patriot. It's so you can talk about those things, and that will get through to some of these folks. Is just, you know, that guy you love, he's from fucking Russia, he's not a patriot.
Yeah.
Somebody writes, is it time to shut down social media? And I think that we don't have to go that far, but if we just put in these tools to regulate it a little bit, to stop all these false accounts, to, you know, to verify information and to not spread false information, it would have just a massive effect on the quality of life.
So Taiwan has a tool, basically a portal they use. It's called VTaiwan. And VTaiwan is built on a platform out of a company in Seattle called Polis. And it is algorithmic in the same way that social media, the Facebook or the Twitter or whatever, it is algorithmic, but it is algorithmic not meant to amplify outrage, but it is meant to amplify community and togetherness and agreement, right? And these are the things we agree on, because the three of us on this call there are probably a few things that when we're sitting around talking shit would come around that, we don't agree on that. And I don't have any need for everybody to agree with me. But what Polis does is it amplifies community and agreement in a way that is not driven toward negativity. It is driven toward, these are the positive things that we're working toward. This is the positive that we're working toward. And in that world, it shifts the entire thinking of entire communities. This is where we are because Facebook is what it is.
Yeah.
This didn't begin with Trump in 2015.
Right.
This began with Facebook in 2006.
He's a symptom,
And Trump is a symptom of algorithmic manipulation and the idea of everything driven toward outrage and grievance, right? It's
mostly funded by Russia.
And Russia, right? That is easy peasy there as well.
Yeah.
But it's not a stretch. This is not some wild conspiracy theory. No. And the thing is I wrote an entire 5-part series on epistemic war, right? You don't have to believe that it's happening. read the first one and clock a couple of patterns. When you follow the process, you're like, oh shit, this is real, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to believe me. You don't have to be a Democrat or progressive, or you can be as conservative as you want to be. But even the most conservative person looking at the SecSev model, right? You will recognize, with just the tiniest bit of criticality, you will recognize that this is manipulation. And as soon as you clock the pattern, you see it everywhere. Like, it's incredible how few people understand what real epistemic warfare looks like. It's why I wrote the series that I did, because and it's like, you will see in my notes the number of times I just am shouting, "This is epistemic warfare," like a lunatic, by the way. But it is what it is. This is epistemic warfare. We are in the midst of an epistemic war, and our belief is being challenged. Our how do you know what you know is being challenged. And when you erode knowledge and truth, everything else is dead.
I think what you say there too is really important, and I've been saying this for a while, is we're at war. We're at war,
this is a war.
In a way that it doesn't matter if the US government itself does not acknowledge the war. We're at war. We have been for over 40 years, at least, with Russia, who told us when they were going to fall that they were going to do this exact thing, and then they did. And we're too arrogant in the US to believe that they could have done it. And so we need to get past our arrogance and acknowledge it's happening. And we need to fight like it is right now it is a digital war. And that is what we need to keep it as. Like, I understand there are people being hurt on the ground right now in the US. There are thousands of people being taken. There are hundreds of thousands of people being trafficked and moved and different things. I understand. I do. I acknowledge all of that. And we cannot allow for murderous violence on the street. And that is what this type of information warfare is about. Is I understand if we're getting really close to the point where it could happen and could be too late to come back from, that it would happen eventually. We're not there yet. And I'm not saying that to downplay the situation. I'm saying that just from the fact that we're not there yet. We don't need to resort to that yet. There are other ways that we win this war without violence. There are wars that can be that can be won on multiple battlefronts without violence, without physical altercation and violence. And we have to embody that. Part of that is reminding people who is the real patriotic folks. And that is not these fake profiles that come from Russia or Israel or Africa or wherever the fuck they are. They're Russian controlled. They're Russian paid for. If you think Israel is an independent nation of Russia in a lot of ways right now, you're wrong. It's controlled by Russian Israeli mobsters. It's not controlled by what you would consider most Jewish people. It is controlled by Zionist mobsters who want power and control and will use disinformation to attack the US. And people like Rachel, this woman votes, are people who are putting their voices out there and saying no to that shit and saying, no, that's not okay. And no, we can push back against it.
I just want to say too, and just we all have to keep in mind that you've just really well stated. It's bigger than the guy who's occupying the Oval Office right now. There's this whole network. And the way Rachel was putting it too, it brought me to thinking about the 1980s video games. I grew up doing those eras. And some people were really good at those video games because they could see the pattern, And I think, and Rachel, you're a person who can see this pattern going around. I don't necessarily see the pattern the way you do. And so this is when we're talking about disagreement. It's like, I do see some things. I see it from a different perspective. And so, I mean, the people in the chat who haven't seen what Rachel sees, don't feel like you're stupid, because I haven't quite seen it the way Rachel has seen it either. I've seen something, and I can offer this is when we need to have this exchange of ideas, and we can't get frustrated. either when we're trying to explain it and people still don't see it. It's like, how can you not see it? It's so obvious. But we just have to keep talking and keep talking, because there are good people out there who want to fix this, who just don't quite see things the same way that we see them. And so the more we keep talking, the more powerful we all become. And again, thanks to everybody for being here. And Rachel.
Yeah. So Rachel, I want to
Thanks
give
for
this
having me.
opportunity. Sell yourself. How can people help you? How can people support you? I'd love to have you back here. Obviously, we talked about Palin Talk on Banner and Backbone,
Yep.
but I think you'd fit right in with the Banner and Backbone community in general, and the team
Yes.
over there, and what we're doing on that side, and reinstilling civics from a moral and ethical, just grounded standpoint. So sell yourself.
Follow me on Substack, Rise, Resist, Restack. I always say, I'm not out here pursuing paid. Everything that I put out is completely unpaid, at least on the political side. My Trustable.blog is a paid, because it's business shit, and it's pretty dry, and y'all may not enjoy it, but it is what it is. But on the political side, I put everything out for free. Of course, the more subscribers, the better. I think there's a level on Substack where you start getting a certain number of subscribers. People start sort of assigning you some credibility and legitimacy. And that's sort of where I'm trying to get to, where people are like reading it and thinking, okay, no, this kind of makes sense. And I am very pattern oriented. And it's also part of the reason that I spend so much time interrogating my own thinking, because the opposite side of pattern orientation is conspiracy orientation and sort of pareidolia and apophenia and those sort of things that go along with seeing patterns everywhere. But I try to make sure that it's well researched, that I've done the self-interrogation to make sure that what I'm putting out there is actionable. Everything that I am also very mission oriented. So everything I try to put out needs to be actionable. There's 1, 2 things, 3 things you can do today that will make a difference. If nothing else, read my series on campaign finance from this week. It was a 5-part or 7-part series that was absolutely a deep dive in the absolute grift that is campaign finance these days. And take a look at my epistemic war reports. You don't have to believe me. You will clock the patterns when you follow the process.
Love it. I love this. I'm going to go read some of your stuff here soon. Some more of your stuff here soon.
Thank you.
I'm going to include in the show notes too, obviously, links to today's note, which has one of Rachel's articles linked right at the bottom of it. So go subscribe to her. If you're on Substack right now, if you're one of the 279 folks with us today, hit that subscribe button in the top left corner. Subscribe to all 3 of us. Join us for the future for more conversations. I'm definitely going to have Rachel back. This has been so fun, and I cannot wait to introduce you to Shane Urich. You guys are going to have.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that too. They're gonna they think the same way. That's gonna be good.
Yeah, we do think the same way. I read Shane's stuff, so I think we think the same way about a lot of things. And good. I'm going to drop a couple of links into the chat to like a couple of like the top end series, and then you can
send me some links in a DM.
Awesome.
And send me a DM and all with some links, and I'll put them all in the show notes so that people can easily go to them. I love promoting people, cross promoting, helping. That's my whole thing, is community building on this side. Yep. And so everyone go subscribe to This Woman Votes, go subscribe to Rachel. And then when you're done subscribing to Rachel, go subscribe to Walter if you haven't already. Walter, sell yourself again, my friend.
Oh gosh, thanks everybody so much. It's always a pleasure to see everybody. And I was scanning through the comments, and I just want to say to everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Try to forget about all the craziness. If you have to visit people, play the replay of this at full volume at Thanksgiving dinner and refuse to turn it down. I know a lot of people are going into hostile territory over the weekend. I always give people permission to not do that. If you feel pressure to go to a place you don't want to be. I know I've spent a lot of my life feeling pressured, like you have to be here, you have to do this. People have to treat you well. That's the rule. If people do not respect your boundaries, you do not have to let them into your life. So remember that. Yep. Anybody who can subscribe to me, I have various tiers. So give whatever you can. But the comments are really appreciated. The restacks are appreciated. Bring more people to the platform. I know that we are all considered the enemy of the mainstream media, so they deliberately push us to the side. So supporting us means a lot more than it does supporting some corporate sponsored publication. We don't get any of that extra money. It's entirely grassroots, and that means we're free to tell the truth. We don't have to censor ourselves and to support some oligarchs. So thank you all for giving us the opportunity to have this space for these kind of conversations. We love you all. Have a great holiday. Wish you all well.
Thank you so much, Walter. And yeah, everyone go support Walter. He's got some incredible writing. His messages are amazing. I love his notes. I don't always agree with everything Walter says. Like we've talked about, Walter and I push back on each other quite a bit in these conversations. We just do it respectfully.
Yeah.
And then finally, please join me here at Sick of This Shit Publications and come back for more. I'm running a November special for 50% off for your first year. I also take founding subscribers if anyone wants to help on that side. That's a bigger contribution per year, but gives you the chance to really help build this from the ground up and solidify it. But first off, go join and subscribe to This Woman Votes for Rachel. Then go subscribe to Walter Rhein. Then subscribe to me. If you're in Substack, hit that Chiron in the top left corner. Subscribe to all of us. If you're not, or if you want to, go subscribe to us on our other platforms too, if you can. Go find me on YouTube and on Twitch for both Sick of This Shit Publications and Banner and Backbone. Come subscribe to all of us because that helps. Any interaction, free or paid, really helps, especially
Rise, resist, restack, share.
Yeah.
Cross-platform sharing.
Yes.
Cross-platform sharing.
Facebook just because I'm not there.
Cross-post each other's articles, cross-post each other's videos. If you're the admin on a Substack publication and you really like a video from somebody and it can be done, cross-post it. I'll even put out a short video next week when my family's not around on how to do that. And so that people know how to do cross-posting, because it's not a visible feature, but it's really helpful because it drives views right back to the original creator. And that's a great way to show that you really like somebody's work. So go cross-post, go help each other out. And as we made a slogan during today, is bacon cookies and breaking balls. I think that's going to be our new catchphrase. Merch. Yeah, we know somebody who makes merch too. Our good friend Lawrence Winterman has a shop called Alpaca Lunch, which he makes a ton of merch on, and does it for a lot of really good organizations and supports groups like Blue Ant Media, things like that, as well as his own. It's all his own designs and things like that. So I'm going to see if he can make a shirt for us that says bacon cookies and breaking balls, because that would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic.
So everyone,
give it to grandma this Christmas.
That's a great, yeah. Every mom coming out to the voting booth, baking cookies and breaking balls. Now that's a statement. So all right. With that, for everyone, thank you all so much for joining us. If you're in the States, have a happy Thanksgiving and have a productive Thanksgiving. Go join people you enjoy. Go have it with friends if you don't have family that you can be with, but go do something communal with each other. And as always,
Black Friday.
Yeah.
Black Friday. Woo! Join us for Blue
estate
Friday.
Sales. Go to an estate sale.
Yeah. I'm gonna be baking cookies on Friday. I'm gonna be hanging out,
breaking balls too.
And so every Friday, look out for Blue Friday sales from Banner and Backbone and Sick of This Shit Publications for right now 50% off forever on every Blue Friday. We're going to be trying to join the Blue Friday wave.
Awesome.
But as always, everyone, let's stop being sick of this shit and let's start doing this shit. Absolutely. It's time to go have a great day. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, guys. This has been such a fun time.
Thanks, everybody.